Kamusta everyone, and welcome to... This is Asia, and here's the Philippines. Now let's have a look, shall we? A scenic tropical archipelago of over 7,500 islands in the Western Pacific, the Philippines has exceptionally ancient beginnings. The first identifiable inhabitants were the Negrito, who were later followed by waves of Austronesians settling in the islands. And over the centuries, many different cultures materialized. Trade was conducted with neighbors across the sea, and by medieval times we observe the rise of small states, or polities, called barangays. They were basically structured as follows. At the top was the chieftain, called the Datu, and his family the nobility. Then there were the freemen, who were warriors and property owners. Then there were the laborers and slaves. Islam was also introduced, and probably would have spread further if not for the arrival in 1521 of a people who were doing an awful lot of exploring back then, the Spanish. Spain laid claim to the islands, and though several chieftains allied with them, the Datu of Mactan, Lapu-Lapu, was having none of that and chose to fight. The outnumbered Spaniards were subsequently defeated in battle, and the islands were spared foreign rule for over 4 decades. Then they weren't. Yes, Spain came back. They were better prepared this time around, and steadily conquered and Christianized the islands, which were named the Philippines after Spain's king Philip II. Manila, the capital, grew into a prominent commercial hub, and the years sprinkled by as they tend to do, and the native people of the Philippines never stopped hoping for independence, and Spain became more and more nervous about this. These 3 Filipino priests were executed in 1872 for supposed treason. The result was that they became martyrs and stirred the passions of a brilliant young man named Jose Rizal. Though he would become an ophthalmologist, he is today most known for his writings and what they accomplished. Rizal's novels caused widespread anger over the injustices of the Spanish administration, and he personally founded an organization to encourage reform. One of its members, Andres Bonifacio, started a more radical movement. When the Spanish found out about it in 1896, it was wartime. The Philippine Revolution commenced. Rizal was executed by firing squad a few months later, thus making him a martyr, and the Filipinos fought on. Meanwhile, the United States defeated Spain in a separate war in 1898, which only further encouraged the Filipino revolutionaries, and their commander, Emilio Aguinaldo, declared independence that very year. Sounds nice and tidy, doesn't it? But history is always messy and complicated. You see, after being beaten by America, Spain signed the Treaty of Paris, in which it handed over several territories to the United States: Puerto Rico, Cuba, Guam, and the Philippines. So the Filipinos had fought against foreign occupation, only to instantly get more foreign occupation. Thus there was war again, and the US was victorious, and then proceeded to stamp out rebels. Under the American administration, the English language spread, modernization was encouraged, and the Jones Law was passed, by which the United States officially promised the Philippines would gain independence. When? Well, when America said it was ready. Under the presidency of Manuel L. Quezon, a number of pressing issues were addressed and reforms made. Then World War II happened, and Japan invaded just a few hours after they bombed Pearl Harbor. The Japanese killed over 100,000 people in Manila, and additional thousands in this infamous death march, where both American and Filipino prisoners of war died very miserably. But the Filipino resistance movement was strong and courageous, and was supplied by US forces. The biggest naval battle of the Second World War was fought in the Philippines in 1944. The USA and Australia crushed Japan, and went on to advance island by island, aided by Filipino fighters. And after hundreds of thousands of deaths, the majority of them Japanese, the Philippines was liberated, and in 1946...
After 48 years of American sovereignty, the people of the Philippines assume the status of an independent nation. The transfer is made on the 4th of July, a day full of significance for these Yanks. Huge crowds jam Manila to watch the birth of the Republic, which regains its independence through the voluntary action of the American people. In a message, President Truman assured our continued support. The new nation looks forward to prosperity. Exceedingly poor after Japanese occupation, the Philippines will receive reparations and free trade concessions from the United States. Manuel Rojas, newly elected to the presidency, takes the oath of office as Ambassador Paul McNutt looks on.
The next standout segment in the nation's story concerns President Ferdinand Marcos. He faced a number of challenges, but managed to extend his time in power by declaring martial law in 1972 and proceeded to lead the nation as a dictator. He built a lot and borrowed a lot and pilfered the country's central bank to enrich his family. Many human rights abuses were committed during this time, but the president's glamorous wife, Imelda Marcos, lived it up in style and famously amassed a collection of 3,000 pairs of shoes. She once ordered a plane to turn round and return to Rome because she had forgotten to buy some cheese there. Eventually, the people had enough and rose up in a non-violent revolt in 1986, and Marcos was ousted, and the widow of his assassinated rival became president. In the ensuing years, the Philippines had plenty of headaches, but a lot of good happened too. From the rise of Manny Pacquiao, one of the world's greatest boxers, to Ms. Diaz here becoming the first Filipino to win an Olympic gold medal. And the Philippines today, with its medium level of human development, houses one of Asia's biggest economies, and we wish it and its friendly citizens all the best as it steps onward into the future. But as for me, it's bye for now. Bye-bye!